Welcome to the Trashcats Trashcast. I'm Richard.
I'm Steven.
And today we're trying to get Senpai to notice us with a discussion on artistic freedom.
Now, this is a big kid episode. we touched on it last week, but we don't need any little baby losers. We need everyone to wear their big kid pants and grow the fuck up, because we're going to have...
Going in with the most rowdy energy.
Yeah, because we need people to get with the program today. But first, how was your week?
Week was pretty good. Chill, not, nothing substantial of note, whatever. But it was a good week.
Oh, yeah.
How you doing?
All right. I went to the doctor. They're getting ready to do some scans on my internal organs because the doctor told me I was sick. He's like, get out of here, bro. We'll see you next time.
Steven skates away on his skateboard and
did a couple kick flips, McAulleys on the way out, keeping a cap on a stack, and
did a couple McDoubles.
Did a couple McDoubles on the way home. But yeah, just whatever week. I feel pretty empty, but I'm still making shit. That's all that matters. So. Doing all right.
I had a customer the other day said something about the repeat customer, so I kind of knew him. I was like, "Hey, how you been?" And she said, little this, little that." And I was like, sometimes it's the best we can ask for. And she said, "Yeah, I don't like it though."
That's
like, yeah, I get it. You're right.
That is the adult mentality we're trying to bring into this discussion today. So last week, I said I was going to let my hate out on the audience, but I think it's appropriate for our honorable mentions to say we appreciate all the trash cats. Anyone who makes it through these shitty episodes, you are awesome. So this next part about how I hate our listeners is not about you.
Yeah.
It's to the people that failed us along the way.
Yeah. The real people we hate are the friends that failed us along the way.
Amen, brother. So, for a while, the Trashcats was growing. We were on our way to the moon. We had all the rocket fuel we needed. And then we had a bit of a decline. Little edgy content, couple rude jokes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Just a couple.
But... we're on our way back. I'm going to read something I wrote. I think it's relevant because it's kind of, we never started with the mission statement, but I feel like this is kind of it. It took us 100 episodes, but
we had to find it,
We kind of got there. And then I promise we're going to have a really edgy conversation that we
a really edgy and divisive conversation.
Yeah, we got a tricky topic for today, but I think we'll come to some interesting conclusions or conversation along the way. So, with no further ado, in regards to our recent decline in listenership, Chapter 1. Chapter 1. There's an old rule on the internet: don't fight with too many people at once. That you basically can only win one war at a time. From the beginning, this podcast has been something with a very niche appeal. If you're not a trashy artist or atheist with thick skin, this likely will not be your thing. I think some of our edgier jokes or general disdain for other people's belief have definitely been a hindrance to our growth, and that's something we've kind of been dealing with lately.
Mm-hmm.
Slandering one religion, political ideology, or artist at a time is one thing, but hating on a lot of different things all at once is another. It's kind of like firing a shotgun into an audience of people at their first concert, just killing off potential new listeners. And that's something we've done a lot. And it would be really easy to say that, jokes are just jokes, but most jokes have a little truth to them, and it would be dishonest to say I don't mean the things I say.
Mm-hmm.
The thing is, we are not only trash cats, but we are war cats. We were bred for this. It's in our fur. And I love to hate things, and I gladly will war with the things and people I don't think should exist. Create, destroy, overcome. Whatever your beliefs are, I hope you do the same. Regardless of who listens, my life has been dedicated to sharing my thoughts and feelings, be it art, writing, or now podcasting. One of my biggest inspirations, this is a shocker, but it's always been Republican talk radio. Since stealing my first little AM/FM Walkman, listening to anything I could on WLW, whatever weird AM stations I could find. What was that? And then the sex talk show with Drew. All those.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I loved Republican radio. The likes of Rush Limbaugh, Tucker Carlson, and the Alex Jones types of the world. These guys, they're pieces of shit.
Oh, yeah.
But these assholes get up and crawl to their microphones day after day, spewing engineered propaganda with a purpose. And you know, there's something to admire with that. And I love listening because I hate them. And I want to know what my enemies think. I read the Bible or listen to religious fanatics often because that's how you better learn how to discredit them. I study the artists I loathe. All of it is a form of building weapons and forging armor. You have to study your enemies. And it's entertaining. We all love being angry. They say holding on to anger is like drinking a poison and expecting the other person to die. And I think there's some truth to that, which is why I passionately pursue my artistic outlets. Anger shouldn't be held. It should be pushed and spread to the things you're angry at. If not to poison them, to cure yourself. There's plenty of people that hold similar radical beliefs, and many of them hold that shit inside and they stay sick. You have to push it. You gotta push the spite. You have to spread the anger. Do not go quietly. If you are mad at the world, yell at it. If you hate their church, dismantle it. If you hate their art, slander it. If you hate someone's beliefs, make them know it. So when I say something like, fuck your God, I truly mean it. And our goal has never been to appeal to everyone. Despite that it's disappointing to have so many people turned off by certain things we say. That's alright. We're war cats.
Damn right.
We enjoy... I keep thinking of fucking Lion-O. What's that show? Thundercats.
Thundercats.
I wish Thundercats was called War Cats because I like War Cats better. What's the little Schnarf guy though?
His name's Snarf.
Oh, he's my favorite. He's so annoying as an adult.
Snarf?
But, yeah. But
Lion-O.
But we're fucking War Cats. And this is the battle we chose to wage. I mean the things I say, and I have the need to say them. And it's not something I would ever want to change. It's easy to say there's too much hate in the world, but I would violently disagree. I believe there is not enough. Most of it just goes to the wrong places, and that's super unfortunate. And the only way to rectify that is to choose wisely and speak loudly, relentlessly. Undermine their empires, wrestle their gods, fight the strong, protect the weak, all that shit. And we shall remain unyielding. With that said, we love talking about the things we love just as much as we do talking about the things we hate, and I hope you stay with us because we have many things left to say. And lastly, and above all else, we urge you, go fast and eat trash.
That's beautiful.
Oh, yeah, I'm a pretty good writer. Dude, I fucking love writing. I love like how serious it feels to write like a mission statement or ode to why we do a podcast called the Trashcats.
Yeah.
It's very fulfilling. But I really do stand by those words strongly.
I stumbled upon some old notes from when we were trying to first start the podcast and we didn't know what we were going to call it yet.
Yeah.
Some of it was so goofy, like Garbage Gallery, and today, welcome to the Trashcats Trashcast, and today we're gonna take whatever insert artist here to the Garbage Gallery, and I think about that all the time when I think about like how much I enjoy doing this, and I start to think about like how serious it can really be, and the things that we say, and it's like this is a goofum podcast. Like,
absolutely.
This is all bullshit. It's fun.
Now, here's the thing, though, is like a pure goofum, a pure goofy gaff. To me, those kind of things get real old, though. I like the goofs, but you need the whole spectrum because I have clown heart tattooed above my dick. Okay,
yeah, you do.
I'm a real joker, but I'm also like a very, very serious person in most 95% of my life. But this is like a really nice outlet to not have to feel the need to be that way, but still have the freedom to say things I mean very seriously. And I think we're both very flexible people in our thinking, but there's things we believe strongly. And then when we kind of clown about some of those things, it's a major turnoff to a lot of people. We knew that going in. It's very niche to, say someone doesn't have the right to believe in God or XYZ down the line, like that they're pieces of shit. That tends to turn people away. But I think
those people are Christians, and it's not going to hurt my feelings if they don't listen to my podcast.
And I think there's a lot of smart people that think like we do too. And it's a slow grind, but we are still growing. It's just real slow sometimes. And it is a bummer when someone has listened for a while and they get turned off by something a little reckless, we said. Probably half serious, or some of it very, but that part is disappointing. But that's just the way it goes, You're talking to a small crowd of people who don't fucking know you. You lose people along the way. So
right.
All the real trash cats sticking around. It's really cool,
Yeah, shouts out to y'all.
Yeah.
Nice. Beautiful.
So, with all that said, what is our controversial topic for today, Rick? Yeah, this was your idea. You were obsessed with it going into it.
Yeah, I've been fighting for this one since the beginning of the show. I said, if we're not talking about this by episode 3, I'm out.
I quit.
And you managed to keep me hanging on a thread for this long. So
I get excited about the contentious ones, and this is I feel like it's a good conversation to have, though. So kick us off.
We're going to start by taking a look at artist liberty in Japanese art.
And there's a reason we go to Japanese art, and that is because they are big perverts. They do some real creepy stuff.
You're trying to make that ad-lib line work so hard.
I feel like that works now. It's much better than the first couple takes. So, Japanese art, anime and manga. It's one of the biggest things they export.
Yeah.
Anime is hand-drawn and now computer-generated animation originating from Japan, and manga are stylized comics or graphic novels.
Let me tell you about hentai.
Yeah, you seem like you'd be familiar with it.
Aren't we all at this point? Anyone that had a computer in the early aughts. Hentai is anime and manga pornography. A loan word from Japanese, the original term, which means listen, does not describe a genre of media, but rather an abnormal sexual desire or act, as an abbreviation of hentai sayoku, or sexual perversion.
I'll be honest with you.
Mm-hmm.
I've never quite understood, because there's some cool stuff, and I like freaky stuff in general, but I don't know why so many adults are like obsessed with only getting off with cartoons.
Yeah, with 2D.
Yeah,
there's a lot of that part is weird to me. I had a conversation with a coworker not long ago, and we were talking about like there's a lot of hentai is like, it's good. Like there's graphic, the depictions of stuff and like some of the artwork that comes out of it's like really rad.
Yeah.
But there comes a line where it's like you have these, when you start using like Western characters, like we've all been on Pornhub and you see the ad that comes up on the side and it's got like, Family Guy characters or like Simpsons characters or something. And you're like, ugh, like I don't want to.
Like, fuck yeah, I'm clicking that. I want to see what this is all about.
This is fucked. Like there's something wrong. There's something very different about that too. But
I'd like to have a chuckle while I get off. What's wrong with that?
And then Marge is banging Ned Flanders, and then Homer comes in with a donut and says, "Dough."
Here's the thing I don't get, though.
It's classic.
It's like, you can see almost anything in a hentai in real life. That's the base take. It's like, why do I need... There's, like, if it's...
I'll give you one word. Tentacles.
It exists in real life, too.
I mean, yeah.
I get
it's a lot grosser in real life.
it's imagination. I get it. It has a value. It might not be my thing. And I think it's weird when people get too into it. It's just like action figures for adults. That's how I feel about it. If it's an adult that has too many action figures, it's weird. It's the same thing. Mm-hmm. But this is the adult part of the conversation. We've talked about hentai before because it's intriguing and there's some really cool art out there. But this is the challenging part. Yeah. Because Japan takes artistic liberty very differently than we do. There are additional pornographic subgenres of the arts sold both online and openly at bookstores throughout Japan that feature animated CP or child porn. We'll probably say CP from here out, but had to say it once. But it's a big thing over there. And the artists that create this type of art argue that it's fiction and there are no victims, and that we should be able to privately enjoy a world of fantasy. And I find this to be an intriguing argument as opposed to anything child-related at all. It is interesting, especially when it comes to art. Where are the limits?
Right. In the U.S., possession of some of these illicit comic books could land you in prison and branded as a sex offender. CP was not made illegal in Japan until 2014, but animated pornography of any type remained legal due to the argument that, quote, artist freedom of speech is protected by their constitution.
Yeah, how crazy is that? That's not just animated stuff. Until 2014, any type of porn, regardless of age, was legal in Japan until 2014.
Yeah.
That was a very recent change. And
yeah, that's pretty wild.
The culture is still adapting to that. Vice recently had a documentary with one of these artists that create this stuff. It was interesting because he believed it all should be able to legally exist, but he also felt shame and like lust for the things he was making. But these bookshops and stores, it is wall to wall shit that is very illegal and you would not want on your hard drive here.
Yeah. There is one of the arguments that the guy in the Vice article said was by making this artwork, he's helping someone fulfill this fantasy without actually going out and committing it.
Yes. That's the classic like violence in video games argument, right?
Yeah.
Substitution or catalyst, right? Does it substitute a crave or whatever, or does it just make it explode?
Does it train you to do it, or make you normalize it in your head, kind of thing?
I always fall on that. It just depends on the person. I think there's a ton of people.
Yeah, that's not. You can't generalize that at all. Like the violent video games does to me or you is very different. Compared to what it's going to do to somebody that's.
It makes me come way more than it makes me come. That's why I'm so good at them. Get all those headshots.
Steven was just making fun of me earlier for being bad at Doom.
It's ridiculous. I just don't understand, man. We'll get you there.
I'll have to turn on aimbot.
No, but it is like with violent pornography. That's the whole thing. Are there some people it can be a very healthy release for that, maybe they're not having needs met in their personal life, and some edgy BDSM shit online gives them a healthy release, or is it going to turn them into a serial killer? There's like, and there's clearly like political implications along that line. People take very hard stances on it, and I think it really just depends on the person. I can even see in myself how, like, if I went headfirst into certain things, it would be easy to say it's not affecting me negatively, but certain things will. Depending on the extent and who you are, it affects people very differently.
And it's definitely harder coming from the artist rights.
Yes, because I'm
point of view.
Always with the artist, and this is probably like the most challenging topic of like where the line should be.
There's vulnerable parties involved that it could be a lot more damaging than some other damaging artwork, potentially dangerous artwork.
Yes, and this is a perfect example of how policy can have real-world implications. If you subject a whole nation of people to varying varieties of a perverted material, what are the real-world consequences? And while I don't think, like, you would think in a bubble that there shouldn't be consequences, people are going to do what they're going to do, this comic book is not going to affect their decisions. We have seen time and time again, especially with CP and things of that explicit nature, there are real world effects. It changes. It might even be small, but it tweaks percentage of people abused or trafficked or whatever. It is a thing, and it's a very complicated thing to know how to handle best, I think.
Yeah.
It's a hard line to walk, talking about holy shit.
It is.
So to recap, all manga, regardless of how explicit, remains completely legal in Japan today, and the US approaches artistic liberty very differently. The following we are going to pull from an article by Gabe Tenenbaum. He is a professor of legal writing.
In drafting the Constitution, the framers acknowledged the importance of artistic expression, going so far as to define promotion of the useful arts as one of the government's purposes. Despite this early recognition, artistic expression has historically been subject to some measure of direct or indirect censorship in the United States. The First Amendment provides significant protection to artistic expression and, as a result, severely limits the government's right to censor controversial works in most contexts. Nonetheless, restrictions on the publication of art continues in several contexts. The scope of protection afforded to artistic expression largely depends on the nature of the speech. Artistic expression through the spoken or written word, particularly in the form of political protest or satirical speeches or writing, such as plays or stories, is akin to, quote, pure speech and is entitled to comprehensive protection. By contrast, art created for commercial purposes or not designed to convey an expressive message, such as nude dancing, is entitled to less protection. Obscene artistic expression without, quote, serious artistic value may be censored. Some artistic expression is subject to censorship based on its content. For example, obscene material may be censored. Legitimate artistic expressions are never, however, considered obscene because in Miller v. California in 1973, the Supreme Court excluded materials with, quote, serious artistic value from the definition of obscenity. Quote, indecent works, which are less than obscene, but make use of patently offensive terms to describe sexuality or bodily functions, may be restricted. In Federal Communications Commission v. Pacifica Foundation in 1978, the court held that indecent material, particularly in the context of television or radio broadcasts, which cannot be banned entirely under the First Amendment, may be restricted to avoid broadcasting during times when children might typically view or hear it. Expression that offends others' rights may be censored. Artistic expressions that are neither obscene nor indecent may also be censored because they offend the rights of others. For example, defamatory works, those that maliciously harm a person's character through falsehoods, fall outside the scope of the First Amendment and may be censored. By contrast, the First Amendment does protect obvious satire of a public figure, so such expressions are not subject to censorship. In addition, artistic expressions that break various statutory laws, such as artistic renderings of currency that violate anti-counterfeiting law or works that offend copyright laws, may also be subject to censorship. Prior restraint attempts have been unsuccessful. The maxim against prior restraint prohibits federal, state, and local governments from requiring a person to seek permission before publishing or speaking. The rationale for placing a heavy burden on the government in this regard is that a ruling denying the right to exhibit or publish a work of art prior to its publication amounts to censorship. In light of this reasoning, attempts by the government to limit expression through prior restraint have been largely unsuccessful. Prior restraints have, however, been upheld in some limited forms. For example, courts have held that requiring a movie producer to submit a film for rating prior to showing it publicly is a constitutional exercise of government power, despite the strong presumption against the legality of prior restraints.
Well said, Tenenbaum. Clearly, we look at artistic liberty in arts very differently than Japan.
Yeah.
There's a spectrum of freedom, and I think compared to a lot of countries, the U.S. is pretty moderate on what our freedom of speech is. We can say a lot. It isn't super limited, but Japan is like fully open with artistic liberty specifically.
Yeah.
Now, we have seen this specifically in porn. We've taken a look at that before in our 2 Girls, 1 Cup episode, where certain types of porn the U.S. deemed too extreme, basically.
Mm-hmm.
So there is a spectrum of artistic liberty, but the question is, where should the line be drawn? So I think that's kind of our premise, and we're just going to kind of open it up to pick and prod what we think that might be, or how to go about such a question.
Yeah.
I think to start off, I think the first thing is we have to agree there's a major difference between legal and moral.
Yeah.
With this question, because there's a ton of things we can think are completely immoral but are still legal. I would definitely agree what Japan has decided to do with their arts being that open is legal to them. There are parts of it I would certainly find very immoral.
Right. It's hard. We said it earlier. It's hard walking the line here without
try not to sound like a pedophile, but I also want to say my biggest argument is I feel I should be able to draw whatever the fuck I want, whether it's moral or immoral, and no government should be able to tell me not to.
And if somebody wants to pay you for your work, regardless of the content involved, you should be able to sell that work.
That I can almost disagree with, though. Because that gets in, I think when money is involved, there is space for the laws to be different without oppressing individual liberty and freedom. I don't know if it should be legal to sell some forms of art. I'm not saying I think that should be the case, but I could see that being a gap that an argument could be made to draw a line there.
I can actually see that. Now that you put it out that way, I can actually see that. I can agree with that.
Like I've met
if you're gonna draw a line somewhere, that is a good place to start looking.
Yeah, like I've met people online that are writers that do like vor writing, like the cannibal or like eating people stuff, and they write explicit fantasy stuff for other people online, right? And these people, they're basically buying custom fetish novels from professional writers that are struggling online, right? So they go to these people, and these people write these horrible, disgusting, custom gore novels for fetish shit for people. And I think there are certain laws about that with publishing. I may be mistaken, but it's the same thing. I think there is a big enough gap to argue that you should be allowed to make something that is immoral, but maybe selling it, I could see that being a good place to cut off some of the potential problems.
Yeah. I've always thought it was, so of course there draws issues within that, but like I always looked at weed growing up as a thing of like, well, maybe make it so, the selling of weed is illegal, but you can grow it. Like, it's a thing. It's in a lot of the states that have it like, at least medically, if not recreationally. Like in Michigan, you can have up to like 12 plants or something.
I'm not going to lie, man. I hate this argument.
Well, let me get through it.
Okay.
So the idea being that like, if you're making it for you, then that's fine. Or if you're sharing it with someone, it's you're giving it away. But the problem that has shown to come from that is that people will do the donations accepted thing. I'll give you this for a donation. And then it's like, are you selling it? Or are you not? It's that breeds a backlog to sell it.
Because let's say I have this explicit image that I made for myself and it's legal, but as soon as someone else sees it, it becomes illegal. That doesn't make that would be horrible too. I do get what you mean by that. Now, here's kind of part of the issue though, is by making the current limits in the US of like, it is too graphic, it represents something that would be illegal, and it is too obscene because it's so graphic, you're basically making it illegal to be a good artist. Right? Hear me out. Here's the little test. If I draw a stick figure, is it illegal? Just a regular stick person.
No.
Right? Now let's say I add a couple tits.
It's still not illegal.
Right. Now let's say I spend the next 10 years perfecting my craft and I turn this into like the most gorgeous, beautiful drawing of a naked woman.
Right.
Still legal, right?
Still legal, yeah.
Now what happens if same drawing, nothing changes, and now I say, hey, this character is actually 15 years old.
Now it's illegal.
Is it?
Well, by what we are...
I don't know. There would be arguments on both sides.
Yeah.
And there's this whole popular genre of lolicon shit now. And a bunch of the characters are like characters that were thought of in popular series as adult women. And all of a sudden the creators are like, psych, they're like 7. And it's like, well, what the fuck do we do with now? Or like they say a child is like... a character that is clearly a child is like 500 years old.
Yeah.
To try to get around. Now, so as frustrating as I find those arguments to be, my argument in response would be that this is a drawing. It does not have an age. This is not a real person.
Right.
If someone draws a character that is clearly underage, how is anyone determining that that is a non-adult? What if I tried to draw a character that was not an adult, but I'm a really bad artist and no one could tell? It looked like a panda, like a weird animal. Like it didn't look...
Yeah.
How could that... But the intention was for it to be... Like the spectrum of artistic talent does not lay over that scale of morality or legality.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't understand. I don't understand how anything drawn could ever be illegal.
There is an argument for intent, but I want to...
That's how the lolly people... Because this is big in the U.S. too. It's just not...
Oh, yeah, you see it in anime all the time. That's a way occurring thing. You said like the character that looks like, they're a child, but they're actually some mythical being that's, hundreds of years old or something goofy like that. I heard this argument about, I think it was a run button thing. They were talking about video games and they said, like if you make a video game and you say like, well, it's about, building a civilization, or it's about, whatever your grand concept is. But during the game, all you're doing is, shooting squirrels or something.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, your game's about shooting squirrels. It's like, what you intend it to be is not what it actually is, though. Like, that's not what you're doing here. So to support your argument of, even if their intention was to draw an underaged character,
mm-hmm.
if the intention isn't actualized, that is a lot harder to, like, who's to say kind of thing. Like the creator intended it that way, and that's, shitty, but if that's not what's depicted,
right,
that's a different thing.
Yeah, like it would, depending on their artistic skill level too. Like that could look a million different ways. So
yeah,
here's my next thought experiment. So to be clear, before we've probably had tons of people drop off already.
Yeah.
I think it should all be legal, but highly de-incentivized because of how disgusting a lot of it is.
Yeah.
But I'm pro freedom in general, even when things are immoral.
Yeah.
Murder should be legal in my world. Let everyone kill each other and draw weird shit.
I try to come in open-minded to a lot of things. There's a couple things that I've planted my flag in the ground, and I've picked my hills to die on. But most of the time those are based on like choice versus circumstance thing. Like the, religion stuff like that. Like I feel like I have a firm stamp in the ground because I'm more versed on it, number one, but number two, it's based on someone's choice to do this thing or to believe this thing versus a circumstance of something that's something that we're kind of
color creed
faced with.
Age, whatever.
Because I'm for the artistic creation, the artistic liberty thing of that. Shitty as it can be in a lot of circumstances of like I don't agree with it morally or whatever. It's an artistic creation, I guess, and there's consequences to that though. And what that brings in is the freedoms versus the burden on society, and like what the burden of society and like what that means. Like we said earlier, it can be the person in the Vice article said like they could be helping someone to pursue this fetish thing without going in and like enacting it in real life. And that, is probably true for some cases, but not all.
I would imagine it's the minority, but that it is a reality too.
Right.
Yeah.
So the problem then is like for those people that it could potentially help it get over that and not to say that if they don't have that, they're going to act on it. That's a whole different argument. Maybe not. When you start talking about like, what's the way they phrase it of like active pedophilia versus like
non-offending
or offending. Yeah.
So like in my Wild West of a world, I would want it to be legal for these stores to exist, but I would want people to be outraged enough that we are recording every person that goes in and out and like exposing them. Does that make sense? Where I want there to be I want the world to have choice. I don't want anyone to tell me I can't draw fucking Muhammad, right? I don't want these comic book artists being blown the fuck up because they draw someone else's god. I don't want someone to immediately go to jail for drawing something that is illegal and gross. But I want them to have consequences for it. I want it to be disincentivized.
Yeah.
I don't want to.
It's like you can say and believe all the. That's I don't know. I feel like it's a different argument, but it's similar in this structure where you can think all the racist things you want to. You can say all the racist things you want to in America. That you can just do that and it's fine. But when
you say it to someone else, it changes.
Yeah, when you start saying it to people and like you have to be prepared that people are going to treat you differently because of those beliefs and those, that's you are expressing your freedom of speech and they're going to also.
Or even like when you look at like the countries that have done like heroin clinics and stuff where they can get free drugs and they have much better recovery rates and less problems, like less people dying, right? Because they can go to these clinics. Imagine these shops are allowed to exist, but they're regulated, where it's not made illegal. You don't go to prison right away, but you are forced to have some sort of interface with mental health person of some sort.
Right.
Right? Like you maybe can go to these stores, but I don't know. This is purely brainstorm, but I honestly, it's one of those things. I want the people that would go to those places to don't want to say be hurt, but to have consequences. But I don't want to not be able to draw something.
Yeah.
Even if I think it's wrong.
I mean, even if you treat it like weed, where it's like you go to a place to buy recreational marijuana, they scan your license. They scan your driver's license, and like you're in a database now.
See, that's what I'm talking about. Where they are forced to interface with someone that is going to consider them from a mental health standpoint,
right?
Whether that is for recovery or crime prevention, whatever. Like there's other ways that it could be handled than outside of an all-out free-for-all and like total illegalness, whatever.
Yeah.
Now here's my next kind of thought experiment. Have you seen the movie Perfume? I know it was based on a book.
I have not.
It's actually based on a kid that's a serial killer, but he finds a way to make the perfect perfume. And it's kind of a fetishy movie in a way. It's a French film, I believe. It's very, very good. But he makes this perfume because he was like an orphan, abandoned as a child, and he just wanted to be loved by everyone, right? He's a little French street cat, just trying to make the perfect perfume so people love and respect him. So this child spends the whole movie crafting these perfect perfumes. And by the end of the movie, spoiler, he nails it. He creates the perfect perfume, and he had to do all kinds of wretched things along the way to make it. And at the end, he lathers himself in this perfume, and both to his pleasure and horror, the whole world, as soon as he puts it on, falls in love with him. And everything stops, and they are like lost in madness and lust for him, as everyone in the world is like enamored with him. Let's spin that a little bit. Imagine the perfect painting, right? Mm-hmm. This painting is it's whatever the viewer wants to see. It's perfect. It's everything to everyone. And as soon as you lay eyes on it, it's like that perfume. It's like instant love. You're obsessed with it. It is perfect to what the whole world needed to see, right? Mm-hmm. Now imagine there's a version of this painting that has some sort of explicit material of a non-adult, but it is done with artistic integrity. It's not done out of perversion. There is some sort of imagery out of all the possible combinations of art. If you run all of art through algorithms, there's some combination of like, it has this explicit material mixed with other things that for some reason the combination equals this masterpiece that is so moving, no one who views it is at all concerned about the explicit parts. Does that make sense? Like
it does.
That there could be, I'm not saying it would be easy or likely or whatever, but there could be some sort of a reason that something explicit is in a piece of art that has something about it that makes it so beautiful that the message of it transcends whatever was explicit. Does that follow? Does that track?
Yeah, hypothetically, yes.
Hypothetically. This is not something very likely or realistically, but you do see art all the time where it has something that's so gross or whatever, but the beautiful part about it is the light in which we perceive that grossness. That's a common theme. Mm-hmm. Imagine there's a version of that painting out. There's the perfect painting that captures that darkness and frames it in a way that is beautiful, and the whole world could be captivated. Would we choose to embrace that? Or would we choose to take that painting and burn it like Damien Hirst? Do we run it through the shredder because it has something that we all know is wrong and immoral? Or is the message that transcends the material itself worthy of being adored? I feel like I didn't explain that as elegantly as I'd like, but I
I think I get your message. I think through like this, despite the darker concepts of something that we would normally as a society, as a world would shun or look away from, some more than others, we can all find something very beautiful in this work, and we all accept it and recognize that it's beautiful, but because of the content involved, we have issue with it. I mean, I would argue that...
I actually thought up a bad example.
I would argue that almost because we're talking about a very hypothetical situation where there's something that everyone enjoys and everyone finds beautiful, and I don't think that painting exists yet, despite its subject matter. But even within that, there are things that people will look away from, despite how beautiful it may be, because it has one thing wrong with it, because it has one thing in it that I don't agree with that though. So I can't, like, fuck this. You can throw it away.
Can I run an example by you?
Yes.
This could only happen in Japan. So, all right, we're picturing the outside of one of these stores, right? It's super nondescript. You go in, fucking row after row of like this really fucked up shit, right? Mm-hmm. Now imagine when you walk in on the wall, there's a massive poster, this crazy well done ink drawing in a manga style, and the image it depicts is a pedo creep on a computer, and it shows what he's looking at, and it's very fucked up, and it's very explicit, and he is like distraught, a mess, and is like the detail of his eyes and his face is so well done that you can feel his anguish and like trouble contemplating who he has become, right? Mm-hmm. That would be, I'm not saying it's the best idea, but like an example of something where
you're trying to find the hypothetical that you can. Yeah.
Now, like, would something like that, the equivalent version in America, as things stand currently, it would still be illegal because it has things of those nature. And I'm not saying it shouldn't be, but I'm just kind of trying to think through something.
Yeah. To get to, deeper discussion, it's sometimes good to play devil's advocate. And you're notoriously, you were quite good at it.
I'm the devil's best friend. Now imagine this poster. They do research studies on it for 20 years, and we find out that it broke through to 2% of all the creepos that went to that store. And we know for a fact that by creating this image that we know contains immoral, weird, explicit things, whatever, it is actually helping to combat it. That is like the juxtaposition of something I'm looking for.
Mm-hmm. Something that if we know for a fact that it's helpful, that's posit one.
There's actually a really interesting so I was looking at this was a Reddit, and it was nothing creepy, but people were doing AI art stuff. Mm-hmm. It was like a horror prompt, right? People trying to make the creepiest AI art, Halloween shit, whatever. And a bunch of it had characters that were children, and it wasn't anything perverted, but it's just like gore shit, like the creepy kid, right? Like like
that's a whole trope.
Yeah, like the Ring type shit, like that kind of stuff. But honestly, the detail of how good some of these engines were looking honestly gave me very creeped out vibes, because we know for a fact it already exists, but that it is going to become increasingly common for people to create computer-generated CP or substitute things like new genres of horror and explicit things that previously could not exist, and that there's going to be some really fucked up real world repercussions or consequences of that.
Yeah, true.
And I think I think things of that nature, because like that is a digital art, right? That's not it's not real. And I'm not saying it should be allowed, but I do feel like there is an under preparation of having these conversations, because things of this nature are at our doorstep. And there's a lot of people, I think, falling into pitfalls of it, whether it's they don't understand it or they stumble across it and don't know what to think. I think there's a lot of problems.
There's already been, when the deepfake stuff started coming out, there was already an issue with people doing, like, making deepfakes, explicit or otherwise, of,
the Trump piss tape.
Like, I was going to say underage, like celebrities and stuff. Mm-hmm. That happened a lot.
Yeah.
And it's like, you can just do that.
There's still no 100, I've seen the tape, there's still no 100 definitive % proof of whether the shrimp Trump piss tape is real or not. Like if it was a deep fake or if it was real. Most things seem to account that the version that's on the internet is the deep fake.
Right.
But that there could have been a real version. But who the fuck knows? But that becoming a common problem in our world, it's getting there.
Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty fucked.
Yeah, it was a funny watch, though. Check it out. Give it a Google.
There's definitely a line to draw between, that and in manga. It's where the line's at and how definitive it is a little blurry, but it's definitely there.
Well, would I be correct in saying most manga, not most, but often manga kind of brushes up against the edge, like hentai too, but all of it can get near the edge and kind of blur the edges or like push the boundaries, but it never clearly steps over that line. And that's the difference between the world of it that is legal and the world that in the US would not be legal. That, a lot of the art can kind of push the boundaries a little bit, and that's kind of become commonly acceptable in these anime crowds, whatever. But the stuff that goes over the line, it is not just like putting a toe over the line. It is going as violent and as obscene as possible. And I know it's like easy to talk about a lot of this stuff, but if we had to have the experience of looking through how most of that material is in these stores in Japan, it's stuff that would burn your memory and be deeply troubling.
Yeah, true.
I would imagine, like, it existing, there are things in this world that just by seeing or experiencing can change you in good and bad ways.
We grew up in the era of shock sites.
Yeah.
And I'm definitely numb to a lot of it at this point, but I realized how unnormal it was when I showed my dad something on rotten.com at one point, and I thought it was funny just because with the caption, whatever it was, but it was gore, and it was like, I'm so numb to it, but like, obviously it's terrible. And he was like, why would you show me that? Like, and it didn't dawn on me until like he said that, and I was like, oh yeah, this isn't normal for people to like see all the time and look at.
That's a perfect example of how material can affect you.
Yeah.
So like, now I'm gonna be a little brave right here.
Mm-hmm.
As adult man, and this is something I've understood more with age. You have the classic McConaughey joke. I hated this line so much. It was always so gross. Like, they keep getting, or I keep getting older.
I love high school girls. Yeah. I keep getting older. They stay the same age. Yes, they do.
It's so gross. And you look at all these rock stars, like in the 70s, that were fucking kids, and even like The Sopranos. I was watching an episode last night where Tony, the lead character of one of the world's most popular shows, is talking about partying with high school girls when he's a 45-year-old man. Like, I will be brave, and I will say there is an element, right? Like we made laws around pedophilia, explicit content to prevent harm to children, right? Like the weak children should be protected. Sexuality does not function in those black and white binaries. Like sexuality is such a spectrum. And the moment someone turns 18 doesn't change how an adult male necessarily feels, right? That it doesn't work as clean, as simply as we would like. But morals can override and change our decisions and attractions. That's not something every fucking dude in their life has to figure out at some point, of like whether you feel a primal attraction if you choose to let that be okay or not.
Right. There's a comedian, I don't remember his name. He's a pretty famous comedian, but I saw he did a piece on talking about pedophilia, and he's like, it's pretty wild how that works. He's like, a lot of us dodged a bullet. Pedophiles don't choose to be that way, don't choose to find that attractive.
It's a fucking curse.
Yeah. So he's like, when the joke was something along the lines of, when I was 8, I liked 8-year-old girls. And now I'm an adult and I like adult women. He's like, when I was 8, I also liked grape juice. Now I like wine, but I also like grape juice. And it's like, so glad my brain knew like which direction to go with that one.
Yeah. And we all know, I mean, there's so much evidence of it at this point. So many people that have these particular problems. It's often in part the results of abuses or trauma to themselves as well. Like there's a lot of factors that go into it that are not as simple as black and white morality or black and white choice. Like it is complicated. And
that definitely, that perspective laid because it was something that I hadn't considered before in the, like, why, like, how is, because I think we glorify stuff like serial killers and stuff all the time.
Yeah.
But then, like, the pedophiles in general is even non-offending, it's like it doesn't matter. Like they're, demonized to a strong degree, and the question was like, well, how come we're so happy about serial killers though? How come we're so interested and involved in that? And that led me to do a very small amount of research on the pedophilia thing, and that knowing we were going to do this topic, but that's a lot of what I found was like, it's definitely not a choice. And it's like you were saying a minute ago, it's like, do you choose to look into it further or choose to act on it or choosing to like do these things? And it's not a black and white thing. It's fucked up in your head.
Yeah. Like if we look at the average, and it may be a small percentage, it's still kind of an unknown, like what amount of people it is. But if we look at a non-offending pedophile, guaranteed they have spent and exerted much more time and energy than any average adult male in doing what is moral, right? They are combating something that is wrong with them. And I'm not saying they should be praised for that, but they're forced to do that. Yeah, because they might not want to hurt people. Now, if we look at like a Ted Bundy or whatever, he did all kinds of pedophilic shit, right?
Yeah.
That was part of his game. And so when we look at serial killers or whatever, all the underage sex part, that's fine as long as you kill them. Like that's almost how we look at it in America, where it's like, as long as the violence trumps the perversion.
Yeah, exactly.
But what I want to circle back to is like, the fact that things exist in the world that change us, that seeing being witness to a violent crime, it's easy to understand how that can impact your life. But let's say you see something very violent, your closest friend in grade school shows you a stack of Polaroid pictures that they found in the dump, and they're actual pictures from Ted Bundy, right? You found Ted Bundy's lost stash. That's still going to affect you.
Absolutely, yeah.
Now, if we just switch that, we could all understand that when it's violent, but when it's sexual, it becomes easier to not want to understand, right? You could, if you're a young child and you were exposed to one of these comic books from these stores in Japan, it could change the type of person you become. It can affect your interests. So while
your interest, your self-image, your all
attractions, while I do understand how things can change people, and while my personal approach and motivation may be from an artistic sense and my want for complete freedom despite morality, while that may be what I tend to want, I fully understand anyone who takes a look at this conversation and decides to draw the line away from freedom and more towards the exclusion of these things.
Right.
Like, I really do understand that because, we talked about it before. There's so many personal things in my life that just really have been hard, and anyone that's been affected by any of these things, I would completely understand why they might not have any interest in the freedom of it and just purely want it gone, because these things can change people and it can hurt people. And I can't object to that argument. I can only I don't know.
I get what you're saying, because I feel the same. It's going along. This is like the biggest outskirts of when you talk about artistic freedoms kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. These are the things that are like so far left field that if you're saying like every artist should have artistic, should be able to have that freedom. This is the end all that, people reach for of like, but this one, like the most extreme case of something that's obscene and so potentially harmful for, any given person that looks at it, harmful in so many different ways. It's different than just, drawn gore or something like that. It's because the
influence.
Exactly. The drawn thing in perspective, the vulnerability is that much higher, and the inability to do something about it on that end is a lot higher. So it's the thinnest tightrope you could walk.
And it's not like a sterile experiment. Like if I'm building a Sim City and I want it to be the perfect utopia, and I get to make the decisions like complete artistic freedom or X amount of abuses of children, right? Like,
right.
If you could see everything's ideal and you don't have to have that X number of abuses, I'm choosing artistic freedom every day. But the real world doesn't work that way. But like if I had the choice to choose between like, hey, this is the choice. You can't draw Muhammad and you can't have these explicit cartoons and things of that nature, but you get to prevent let's say 95, because 100% never happens. You'll get 95 of abuses to children instantly prevented. That's the trade-off. In the real world, I make that choice. Mm-hmm. But as a matter of like ideals and beliefs, I can't. Mm-hmm. Like it's so confusing. So like if a policy was proposed, right, or we analyzed Japan's current artistic policies versus the US's, and we can say, hey, these laws definitively make this percent of a difference in the US, which equates to this many children less being hurt, then I'd have to be like, even if I, on a moral or ideal level, don't want it to be that way,
Yeah,
it's more important to prevent the real world harm.
It's one of those exactly. The evidence is there that shows that, like, no, this is only doing bad, or this is doing so much more bad than harm. It's like, okay, then you can't really argue with that. Like, ideally in your head, you're like, well, that sucks because you want there to be the
perfect solutions.
Exactly, and it just doesn't work that way.
No, because people are complicated.
People are complicated and humans suck, and that's just the way it's going to be.
Yeah. I still will always adamantly fight for the freedom that I should be able to draw whatever the fuck I want. That no one can tell me I can't draw anything. Doesn't matter what the fuck it is. And even if I may never want to draw those things, I reserve that freedom for myself. I don't think we should be prevented. I definitely see room for selling anything or even showing it to somebody. It comes illegal. There's all kinds of other things, but
also you're not drawing explicit manga.
Yeah, I want the world where like people aren't creating things that help other people to hurt young people, but I also want the world to be that I can create whatever I want, and those two things aren't fully compatible. Like it's. I don't know, but I think it's important decisions to dabble in, or at the very least, challenging.
Yeah.
We may have lost a bunch of people, but that's okay. That's why we started yelling at them today.
Yeah, that's what we started off strong, yelling at people.
We have to temper these Ravage Raccoon fans.
And we said it was going to be, big kid talk, but
big kid talk for sure. Now, do you want a hardcore switch gears before we close out?
Yes, absolutely I would.
New trolley problem unlocked. And you get to test it, good sir. I already know the answer, okay?
You have the correct answer to the trolley problem.
Like stockfish solving chess. I've already solved this trolley problem. It's not even a concern to me. I know the right answer. Do you?
If any...
You ready to solve it, brother?
This is something you should bring up in therapy. You should tell your therapist, I think there's a correct answer, a one correct answer to trolley problems.
I have the correct answer for every trolley problem. Give me a multiple choice. I get 100% every time. You ready for this?
Yes, I'm ready.
This is my little spin on a new trolley problem hit the internet. Now, I'm calling my little spin on this thing the nuclear whale trolley problem. Okay?
Whoa.
Now, I have the premise set up. It's a couple paragraphs, so let me read through it before you come to an answer. Give you a little time to think. You might need it. It's a little complicated. All right, give me one moment. I got to get a couple vaperoonies in before I drop the big bomb on you. Honestly, man, this was a tougher one.
Yeah.
Than a lot of the other ones, only because of a few specific words, but it changes how this question feels. So I'm curious how you'll answer. Ooh, that was a good hit. Ooh, that birthday cake pastry. Delicious. All right. The nuclear whale trolley problem. All right, picture this. Close your eyes. Get into the moment. You're on vacation at the beach. You're with the person you love the most in life.
Okay.
You have to picture who it is. It can be amalgamation. Keep it to yourself. Don't say it's me. Now, you're making some sandy castles. You're lounging in your bikini wear.
Mm-hmm.
You look gorgeous. You got a tan.
My leopard print Speedo.
You're shiny. You're looking good. catching some rays on the beach with the person you love the most in life. As you're building your sandcastle, your little plastic shovel hits something in the sand, and it's hard. Ding! And you think you may have found buried treasure. So you frantically begin digging as your favorite person kind of chuckles along with you. To your surprise, you uncover something. At first, it's just a shiny little piece, looks like metal. And as you dig around it, excavating, you start to realize it's a metal track. And as you start to put this together, you hear a loud toot in the distance.
Oh, Jesus.
You look behind you towards the direction of that toot, and you see a trolley bounding down the beach, just grinding through the sand. Full speed ahead towards you and your loved one. As it's racing towards you, you realize the trolley is actually stuffed with nuclear weaponry. You see all the big bombs and warheads with their skulls drawn on them. And these warheads, you can tell, they're poorly constructed. They're very shabby. Screws are falling out. The paint's peeling. Just one wrong bump could set off a chain reaction that could take out the nearby city. You're not a long drive from the main city. You just took a day off and went to the beach. But this trolley is headed towards you, right past you down the beach towards that city. If it reaches the city, it'll kill a minimum of 10,000 human beings. But we're going to round it and make it easy. You have 10,000 human beings on the line if this trolley of nuclear warheads hits the city. Now, at that exact moment, a giant whale splashes out from the ocean onto the beach. It just beaches itself, just splashes out right in front of you.
Mm-hmm.
And he opens his big ass eye, looks at you, and he says, "You just activated my trap card. The only way to save the city and prevent 10,000 deaths is to feed me." You plead with the whale that you'll feed him anything he wants, as long as he stops the trolley from exploding. The whale laughs and says, "Feed me what you love most, and I will spare them." His big bulbous eyes list to your favorite person as he opens his big stinky mouth. Despite the whale's psychopathic nature, he is a whale of his word, aka a good faith whale. What do you do?
This raises the issue of, you save the day, but at what cost,
Yeah.
What is the world worth living in if you're not with the person you love?
And what is friendship but choosing to cherish or value someone more than an average person because of what they mean to you?
Yeah.
How many people is your favorite person worth?
I mean, I feel like I should take more time to think about it because of the nature of the issue, but
guilt. You're feeling guilt.
But that's I feel like I'm not feeling guilt. I'm feeling like I should be guilty. That's different.
It is. Are you saying
because I'm telling you 10,000 people are going to die that day.
Yeah, but they're not your favorite people.
Right, exactly.
Oh, you're going to let them all die, huh?
Yeah, I think I would.
I think that's honorable, man. That's what being a friend is.
I need someone else there to, if nothing else, I need someone else to understand, my
choice.
my therapy, that understands what I went through that day. The person with a shared trauma that knows.
Right, because you're not.
Now here's the question.
Mm-hmm.
the person that I'm with is also being given that decision.
No, just you.
Well, hear me out. So we're both on the beach, and the whale is within talking distance of both of us.
Mm-hmm.
And let's say they hear that.
They feed you to the whale.
Right.
So you have to be on the same page with the person.
Now, here's the thing. If they start trying to feed me to the whale, oh, some bitch, it's over with.
Now you're throwing them in the whale.
Yeah.
This is
I might be like, no, like, we're not going to do that. And they're going to say, but all those people. And I'm going to say, fuck all those people.
I feel like there's way more gravity to this decision because depending on your choice, you're choosing between a whole city and feeding a person you love to a whale to place them on the whale's tongue like an altar.
You are. It's not that snap, they're gone.
Oh, I switched a lever. Yeah, no consequence. Yeah. You have to put your loved one in the mouth of a predator.
You're offering them up, yeah.
That's hard. I don't think... I truly feel a friend... We've talked about this before. This is like my primal take on this is like our friends are our friends because they make us feel good. That it's all selfish, right? Mm-hmm. That there are times you are selfless with your friends, right? That they're having a hard time. They have a family member die. You're there for them. Like that's what you do. But you can only be in a friendship that is negative for so long because ultimately we choose to love people because they make us feel good to love them. There is a selfish nature to it. And being a loved one, the only thing that separates them from a random person in that city is that we choose to favor them.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it is a fair decision to take any amount of people, to choose a person you love over any amount of people, if that's how you truly feel, because it is not your fault the bomb goes off.
I think you could also, I think to your point, the difference, one of the big differences here is not just I'm switching a lever. It's I'm making an action.
Yeah.
And I think you could even just do with, like all these people are going to die if you don't, feed me any person that's, nearby you. And it could just be another beachgoer or something.
Any child playing on the beach.
Yeah. And it's not going to be as easy as someone you care about. It's not going to be as easy to make that decision as if you're saying like, oh, it's your loved ones or something like, but the fact that you're taking a more prominent action to facilitate it, I think.
You know what, man?
Makes it a little bit harder.
You're so right. Even more so, the traditional trolley problems, half of your choices, you don't have to do anything at all.
Right. Yeah.
You could just, not making a choice is a decision.
Yeah, you're not making a choice and then, 5 people die on the trolley because you didn't hit the lever to switch it to the one person.
Yeah, it's easier to separate from that being an active decision when you don't have to physically do it.
Yeah. Tell me the right answer. Tell me why I'm wrong.
No, I don't think you're wrong. I think your choice is the choice in a binary that I would make. Now, I have spent a lot of time thinking about this, and I also watched a bunch too. The most moral, perfect answer for this, in my opinion, is to do whatever the person you love the most says to do.
Yeah.
Whatever they say.
Yeah, that's very romantic movie-ish.
If they say they want to die for 10,000 people, then you owe it to them to kill them by feeding them to the whale.
Right.
If they want to live and they can't bear that, then you let the city die. And then you're stuck with a shitty person that you may not love the most anymore.
Well, that's the thing. So, you put it into... I feel like it's harder too. Like you put it into your own perspective of like, would you sacrifice yourself to the whale for 10,000 people.
You know what? I'll give an honest answer to this. It 100% would depend on how I feel that day.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's very true.
Because there are so many days I would just be happy to die for half a person.
For real?
Yeah.
I
gotta be a hero. I gotta die for 10,000 people. I was about to fucking off myself this evening. Like, fuck yeah, let's do it. And then
what a way to go, especially if your best friend's there, you're somebody that you care about's there to like tell the story of how you died. You got eaten by a magical whale. That's pretty fucking wild, dog.
I'm getting a movie deal out of this. My story's gonna live on. But truly, I feel like that is an honest answer, because on a day I feel Machiavellian or angry or I don't know, indignant, and I don't know, the world shit, fuck everyone, like fuck everything. No fucking chance I'm dying for a stranger. Like, fucking burn in hell. I don't give a shit. But on a lot of days, I would totally give my life for any given stranger. And I think most people, whether they know it or not, have some level of that kind of vulnerability in their answer. Like, it's easy to know like what you think you would do in that situation. Mm-hmm. But I think so much of it is dependent on who you are that day in that moment. Which for me, I find maybe how I feel might be more unpredictable than some people, but I would imagine a lot of people have some element of that.
Yeah, same. You mentioned a couple seconds ago about you having a movie deal out of this scenario, and it made me think, who would play Steven in this movie about his life?
Do you got somebody?
I do.
Oh, shit. Who?
Pitch Black era Vin Diesel.
Oh, shit. Dude, that was Tony's favorite actor.
Was it really?
Dude, that's why I watch every new Fast and Furious movie and the Riddick movies or whatever, because they were his favorite. And
Riddick movies were great.
I hated them, dude.
Tony had good taste.
I hated them, but I love Vin Diesel more than any other actor now, because and Tony looked just like a child version of Vin Diesel. He wore all the same clothes after. It's so ridiculous, dude. He was a wannabe Vin Diesel. So like, now that's my favorite nostalgia actor to watch. So I take that as quite the compliment.
I remember watching Pitch Black for the first. Is it Pitch Black or Pitch Dark? It's Pitch Black, right?
Honestly, it's called Pitch Black, but I can't remember them at all. Yeah.
I remember watching that one for the first time. I was with David, and he knew what it was, and we were just watching it on TV or whatever. And remember thinking like a few minutes into it, like, what the fuck is this? He was like, oh, it's Pitch Black. I'm like, I've never heard of this before. And it was like, I remember thinking like, wow, this movie kicks ass. But yeah, that was that's where I was at. And David's like, yeah, dude, duh. It's fucking Vin Diesel.
I live my life a quarter mile at a time.
Yeah.
I don't have friends. I got family.
Damn right.
Jesus. Who would you be?
Who would play me? Who would play me in the movie about Steven's life?
I feel like you're the dude, like the Big Lebowski.
Oh, Big Lebowski.
You have Big Lebowski vibes.
Oh man, it could have been Ryan Dunn, but he died.
Yeah, he's dead.
Yeah, he's dead. It doesn't count. I've heard my entire life people tell me, "Oh, you look like Ryan Dunn." It's like, it's because it's the beard.
It's the beard. Yeah. You know those beards are bad, right? Beards are bad.
I disagree.
Here's the thing.
Mm-hmm. Tell me about why beards are bad.
All right, we're going to get into it. It took us an hour.
With your perfectly shaved head.
All the skin.
He's like fucking Danny DeVito in that episode of fucking Always Sunny. You got to get rid of all the impurities.
Here's the thing with beards, though. They're often thought of as very defining. But when they get past a certain size, you lose all distinctive facial features except the beard. Like, you have to give up a lot of yourself to that beard.
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
I think it's a bad trade-off.
I mean, I don't like all my facial features. So.
I'm not saying it looks bad on you, but in general, like, my beard or no beard argument is, I think so many guys think they look really good with the beard, but the truth is, like, almost no women love beards, and you're giving up a lot of your face to hair. You're losing a face versus hair battle.
I'm also, my beard doesn't like come up that high. Like it dips pretty low on my cheek, so it doesn't like, there are dudes that goes like from their full ear Amish, to their like underneath their nose, like a straight line almost.
Yeah, they got fuzzy caterpillars all over them.
Yeah, I'm fortunate I don't have that. And it doesn't creep that far down my neck either.
But don't you want a jawline? How the lady's going to kiss your jawline if you got hair there?
Well, I don't have one, so it's not going to work out. I have a very shitty jawline.
I don't know. Need that Chad jawline, bro.
Yeah, I know. I need to. Didn't they come out with a little exercise tool?
It's called Jawcercise, okay?
Yeah, Jawcercise.
And it doesn't work at all. Jawcercise and mewing. Okay, you got to get in the red pill communities, brother.
Yeah,
There's
you're right.
all kinds of sweet pickup techniques out
there. Take a bunch of steroids and do my Jawcerise.
Oh, yeah, dude. Get swole, brother.
Get that swole neck.
Oh, dude,
if that's your lifestyle and you want to rock that way, like I sure go for it, but like don't be telling people that's not how you
see that
live. That's the thing that makes me mad about it.
It's the deception, not the practice itself. Yeah. People should be able to draw whatever they want, inject whatever the fuck they want into their body, do whatever they want as long as they're not hurting people. But if you're lying about it, that is shitty. Don't
be a fucking hypocrite about it. That sucks.
Lying should be illegal. God, that would suck, huh?
Yeah. The fucking goddamn, what's the name of the movie with Jim Carrey?
Liar, Liar.
Liar, Liar. Yeah.
He was a bad boy in that one, huh? I hate Jim Carrey. He's frustrating, huh?
Yeah, I can get that. I think I definitely respect Jim Carrey for what he does. There is a bit of where it becomes.
Have you seen his paintings?
No, I haven't.
He's transitioned to like his main thing right now is an arts career in painting.
Oh, it's not being Dr. Robotnik?
No, he's not acting much. He's mostly painting, and it is atrocious work. Very disappointing to come from.
Honestly, I've definitely seen worse.
I mean, he's right up there with Hunter Biden in talent, I would say.
I think he's better than Hunter Biden.
My boy Hunter Biden could outpaint Jim Carrey any day of the week.
Here's the thing, is actually the pieces are very...
It's pop art, right?
It is.
It's been a while since I've seen it, but it was like
it looks
Marilyn Monroe.
It's indicative of him. It's got his energy to it. So I think it's fair. I think it's fine.
He's one of those people, I like what he makes typically, but in real life he would be so abrasive, right? Like there's certain, maybe not now, but like him younger, he seems just so abrasive.
I feel like some of that's also up front. Like when he's on, he's being recorded, he's puts on the Jim Carrey mask and
there is something to don't meet your heroes, right? Or creative people you look up to. Almost any creative person that I've liked their work that I've got a chance to meet has been so disappointing. Or you just got to go into it knowing like they're not what they make.
Yeah. Yeah.
I like to think I am.
Keep it short and simple. Do it over on the internet. Like, like reaching out to artists and stuff on Instagram for the show. We've gotten good responses out of that where it's short and sweet and then you can keep going on about your day.
Yeah. Speaking of exceptions to the rule, we actually got stuff lined up with Chaotic and Approaching, so that's going to be dope.
Yeah, man.
Is there anything else we want to say before we get?
No, I think we did a good job of going from berating our audience to talk about, CP and then talking about nuclear whales and then Jim Carrey, so.
Cheese pizza.
Yeah, I think we
in Hillary's bleach scrubbed emails.
Yeah, exactly. Where are they? Where are the emails? I think we can get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, people are crazy.
Thanks again for listening, everybody. Thank you to Approaching Human for the use of his music. You can find his work on SoundCloud at approaching-human.
Thanks, John. Talk to you on the podcast soon, brother.
Fuck yeah. I don't think I've ever met your brother.
You know, that seems so strange to me, but I do think that's true. I think you guys will definitely get along. But
I feel like I've seen him in passing, or maybe it was just like like I'm in your house and like walking through or something. Maybe, I don't know.
I'm really curious how our conversation will go with him, because John is very smart in a more like fundamental way than I am.
Does it mean like actually smart?
Yeah. Yeah. So cool stuff. I think next week we're probably chilling, but we got some cool topics and cool conversations with people ahead. And really, anybody who's sticking around through 4,000 minutes of our bullshit this year, you guys are awesome. Like, people that have stuck around or staying around, even if we don't hear from you much, it's really appreciated.
You're the real American heroes.
And a real American.
Also, make sure to check out the show page at Trashcats and Trashcasts on Instagram for news and arts from the show. Check out Facebook for the memes.
If you're super bored, you can check out my trashy art on Instagram as Sky6, SKYZ here.
That's going to be all for us today. Stay classy, eat trashy.
Go fast, eat trash. I know.
I'm going to stop